Hey book, what's up? So today I thought I would talk about Oleander. It is by Janet Fitch and it was made in 1999. So the book follows a young girl, Astrid, who lives with her passionate but really self-centered mother, Ingrid, and they live in California, and for the first 12 years all is okay. She gets manipulated by her mother a lot, it seems, and then her mother starts dating this guy, Barry. And so everything's happy, everything's good until she finds out that Barry's been cheating on her with a younger woman. So then she murders Barry. She gets sentenced to life in prison. Astrid is sent to different foster homes and kind of has to go through an awakening to find herself, her sense of identity, sense of self, and to kind of just navigate her way around. So to start, I loved this book. This was a really good read. It was long and it was very wordy and it was very detailed, but it was so good. Like, I even wrote up like a list of like pros and cons and like a rating, and I think one of the pros of the book was it had some of the best character development. There was no character that I really felt was just sort of there. It was like they had a purpose, they had a meaning, and they were not black and white. They were not just inherently good or inherently bad. It was kind of great to watch Astrid, how she develops as a character throughout going to different homes, like when she goes to see Claire and Ron, who end up being the best, when she's even at Marvel's and meets Olivia Johnstone, I think her name was, and even when she's like at Amelia's and she's being starved. It's so good. It's so like pow. Okay, so the next thing I really liked about the book was it had a really good writing style. It seemed very relatable with how it was written. It was all from Astrid's perspective, and as still a teenager reading about her going through stuff, I was like, man, like I kind of understand that feeling of feeling a bit lost, feeling a bit like broken inside, feeling a bit down. Like, I understand that, and it made it a lot easier to read and it made it a lot more enjoyable to read. So the third thing I liked is that there is not a one-dimensional character in this book. As I had said previously, not one character is inherently good or inherently bad. Astrid is supposed to be our protagonist and she's supposed to be the good one, but she also does some stupid things and some bad things, and she hurts people and she knows she does, and she knows that there are consequences, and she's willing to accept those consequences, but sometimes she does something that a lot of people do and they sort of accept it and they're ready to give up. And she does do that, and it makes her more relatable, and it makes it more like, yes, you're good, but there's a gray area because you're not perfect. Like, not all the good characters, they all have a bad quality about them. Olivia is arguably one of the best characters, one of the most good characters, and she's a prostitute. And then you have people who are bad, like even in like Marvel, she is considered a bad character because she uses Astrid as like a sort of unpaid babysitter and all that, but at the same time it seems like she really did kind of care about Astrid's future, even if it might have been a future without Marvel and her family. Even if she did some awful things, it seemed like she really cared and wanted Astrid to have a somewhat decent future. And I think in a sense, even her mother is arguably one of the worst characters in the book. Like, Olivia's arguably one of the best, she's one of the worst. And the reason is because when Astrid is like happy and when she's having a good time, her mother is always there, and we really only see her in a few visits and in a lot of letters. You see her in a couple of flashbacks, but the biggest thing you see is her letters, and her letters are extremely important because they actually show her more as a character and help her grow and develop. And even though she is one of the worst characters, she manipulates Astrid, she abuses her emotionally, mentally. I don't think there's anything about physical abuse, but even though she does all that, you can tell that in her own little way, she does love Astrid and she really does care for her. And I think that's actually really important because it shows that this isn't the cardboard cutout of a villain. This isn't the cardboard cutout of a good hero. And this book really challenges that. Okay, so now I have to go into things I don't like about the book. I have to say, the last chapter to me, I wrote on my paper, last chapter sucked. I really did not like the last chapter. I thought it was extremely slow. I thought it was really unnecessary. I didn't think that we needed it at all, because I think the second to last chapter, the last part of it, I was like, that's a done deal. Like, this book's done. I just got my closure, but then the last chapter happens, and it's just so out there. So another thing I didn't like was that sometimes the book did get really slow, like in describing things and things happening. It would just happen very slowly, and you'd be reading pages and it would seem kind of worthless, because you're like, why am I reading this? What's the point? And then it wouldn't have a point in the end. And I think the third thing was, I think at the end, and I think this is a lot because of the last chapter, I think there wasn't enough closure, there, if any, really. Because the last chapter ends with her, and she's 20, and she's living with this guy, Paul, and, it's okay, a twist kind of happened, but I won't spoil it, but, it was made in 1999, so it's a 20-year-old book, so, but I won't spoil it, but a twist happens, and any sort of closure you had just is gone. It's done. There's no closure now, because the book ends with her being doubtful again, and that wasn't what you read it for, and it feels so incomplete. It feels like they either should have written more about that, maybe done a sequel, or they should have just stopped. So to give some last thoughts on this book, it was great. It made me really emotional at a lot of points, but overall, it was a good experience. I just wish that there were a few things that had been changed. Like, I would have been very content if there had been no last chapter, no 2 years later, if she had just stayed, if the book had just ended there. But overall, I'd say out of 10, I have to give this one an 8.5, because even though there were slow parts, there was just an overwhelming amount of things that were so good in the book. I hope you all liked this video. If you did, leave a comment about what you thought about the book, or maybe what I should read next, and subscribe. I am getting the second configured book today, and I think the third one, so I am so excited. I'll get to do those. Hopefully I can record them later this week and have them up next week, and just let me know what I should read next. I am so excited, because I'm also getting to start the Mortal Instruments series, and I've read I've watched Emma books. I'll put her channel link in the description below, and I thought, she loves that series. I was like, man, this is gonna be great. I always agree with the stuff that Emma says about books she likes, so I was like, maybe this will be really good. So I'm excited. I'm hoping to start that at the end of next week, maybe a couple weeks, but way before Valentine's Day. So thank you, and bye.